Well, hello. Actually, that was a really odd way to say hello. Probably shouldn't say hello like that anymore. So I promise you that I will never say it in that kind of a creepy way ever again. Today, I'm gonna be talking about glutes. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, welcome to my channel. I hope you like it. Don't forget to take a look around, hit subscribe, because I release weekly videos about the booty, about your abs, about health, fitness, video sequences, yoga sequences, even meditation. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss one of those videos, because who doesn't love a good old notification sliding into their inbox to say, why don't you try meditating? Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Today I'm talking to you guys about the 7 best glute exercises that you can do at home with no to minimal equipment. Now, I haven't used any bands, I haven't used any weights or anything other than your own body weight. All you need is a chair. If you don't have a chair, use the end of your couch. If you don't have a couch, use the end of your bed. If you don't have the bed, then you could maybe do it on the end of your stairs, on a table. I mean, I'm sure you have something that has a raised platform that you can use around the house. Don't use people or children or electrical equipment. Today we is talking about the booty. Now, the thing about working the booty is that you need to work different angles if you really want to grow it in the right way. The gluteals are a really tight family of muscles made up of the glute medius, glute minimus, and my favorite, Mr. Max himself, glute maximus. Now, glute max is the biggest muscle in the body, and it is that chunky bit that you see right there. So it's big. Now, the thing that needs to be remembered is that your hip extension movements will normally target your glute max. Okay, so that big chunky one. However, the upper fibers of the glute max also are responsible for hip abduction. The glute medius, which is like that top shelf part, and your glute medius is usually responsible in hip abduction and also internal and external rotation, depending on the positioning of your hips. But when you're training the glutes, you need to make sure that you're training either side. You're not just kind of working on like one particular glute exercise. It isn't enough. And I'm gonna clear this up right now. Your squats and squats in general aren't necessarily the best exercises to use if you really want to improve your booty. In fact, a squat is what's called a knee dominant exercise. So it's actually making your quads work harder than it is necessarily your glutes. That is unless you've learned how to really activate and switch on your booty in order to get it involved when you do the squat. And I'll post another video which is how to make your glutes more active in a squat, but that ain't for today. Now, if you're a beginner, maybe you don't really care about that information. You're just like, help me make my butt look good. And I get that, but the more you understand about the way the glute works, the easier it is for you to actually train it and get results. For today, what I really want to talk about are the 7 best exercises that you can do to strengthen, tone, perk up your sexy booty, which by the way is already sexy. We're just going to make it stronger. So the side lying clam up against the wall. You're going to come and lie flush up against the wall, and you're going to start in a lying position with the hips bent at about 135 degrees and the knees bent at about 90. Now, the neck is just going to rest down on your arm or on the ground, and the other arm is going to be braced on top of the hip. Push your hip down so that you then get this gap. Keeping the feet together, you're going to lift the top knee off the bottom knee, opening it up. Now you've got to keep your mind in the muscle, lower it back down, and then lift it back up, as I'm doing here. You want to make sure that you're thinking about your glute. Number 2 is the side lying hip raise. So what you're going to do is come onto your side, placing your forearm down on the floor. Your other hand is going to rest on top of your hip, and again, you're going to square the pelvis. Your bottom leg is bent at a 90-degree angle, and your top leg is straight. And from here, you're going to lift the hips up and down. Up and down. You're trying to keep your core tight, belly in, and ribs down as you do this. Really push the floor away with the shoulder so that you don't feel that sort of sagginess or that tension in your shoulder develop. Number 3, the raised side lying leg lift. This one is really going to target your glute medius, but you need to make sure that you dig your thumb into it. And I'll show you what I mean. So you're going to set the chair up whatever's comfortable for you. You're gonna lean over the chair as I'm doing here, placing your bottom hand on the floor. Obviously that's gonna depend on where you are. If you're on a bed, that's not gonna be possible, and you can just rest your forearm on the bed. Your other hand is gonna be on your hip, and I want you to dig your thumb into the glute med where I've shown you that it is. And from there, you're gonna just lift or raise the leg up towards the ceiling and then take it back down. Now, notice I'm keeping my hips as still as possible. So there's no like movement or shakiness of the hips. You're just gonna raise it up and lower it back down. That was glute med with a teeny bit of glute max. Okay, so for glute max, we're gonna start with the single leg glute bridge. Now, you're gonna come into a glute bridge position. So feet hip distance apart on your back, lift your hips off, and then tuck your tailbones. Notice how my pubic bone is kind of aggressively sticking up towards the ceiling, almost like I have an erection. Great, that's what you want. So you wanna really make sure your tailbone is tucked, your belly is in, and your ribs are down. Now, from there, lift the right leg off the floor. Yeah, and from there, you're gonna lower your hips down and raise them back up. But you've got to make sure that you really got that tuck so that you're working your glute. Continue to lift, keep your chin tucked in, ribs down, core tight, and drive through the heel of the leg that's down. If you feel it a lot in your hamstring, move your heel a little bit closer to your buttock. So the next exercise is a Bulgarian split squat. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but I feel like lunges and split squats in my quads. Yes, and I get it, and I feel you, and I'm gonna help you to feel it more in your glute. Place the chair against a wall for these next few exercises that I'm about to show you so that the chair doesn't move on the ground. If you don't have that capability, then you can put the chair on top of a yoga mat, and that also works. Okay, so the Bulgarian split squat, you wanna make sure that you go long enough, but not too long so that you go into this sort of big arch and you feel it in the back leg rather than the leg that's supposed to be working, which is the front leg. Bend both knees, come into the lunge position, and tip your body forward, keeping your ribs tucked in. If you lift your chest and lean back, you're gonna take it into your lower back, you're gonna take it into your hip flexor, so you need to keep that lean forward. The next exercise is another favorite. I mean, they're all my favorites. I'm just getting a bit excited about this, but it's called the hip thrust, or the shoulder elevated hip thrust. And by elevating the shoulders, you get a lot more hip extension, which is what really can help to get that glute max firing. So you're gonna bring your upper back onto the chair. You're gonna tuck your chin in, and your feet are gonna be hip distance apart. You can play with slightly wider feet if you'd like to as well. And from here, you're gonna lift your hips off the floor. Same thing that we did in the glute bridge. You wanna make sure you're getting that tailbone to tuck down. Yeah, ribs stay down as well, belly pulls in. You're dropping the hips towards the floor, and then you're squeezing your glutes to lift those hips back up. So making sure that you get that tailbone tuck is gonna ensure that your glutes actually do the work. I see a lot of people perform these on Instagram really, really terribly by arching their lower back and not actually getting any kind of hip drive whatsoever. Don't drop your head back onto the chair, try and keep the chin tucked in. That will help you with that spinal flexion that you need to get the glutes to do the work and not your lower back. And last but not least is the single leg hip thrust. So this just basically cranks that hip thrust up to level 10. So what you're gonna do from that hip thrust position is just literally lift one leg off the floor, just like we did in the single leg glute bridge. So lifting that leg off the floor, you're gonna keep the knee bent in towards your chest, drop the hips down to the floor, and then snap the hips back up, driving through the heel. This is a tough one. Again, if you're feeling this a lot in the hamstring, you need to bring your heel closer to your butt. If you're not feeling it enough and you're just feeling it in the quads, try taking that foot further away from you. Okay. But Shona, how many sets and reps should I be doing of body weight work? All right, here's the thing. I'm so glad you asked. Body weight work, generally, we try to go slightly higher in repetitions. And that's just because body weight exercises are easier than weighted exercises. But hold up, because that's a bit of a myth. If you were to grab a pair of 3-pound weights and push them versus doing a push-up, I'm gonna tell you now, the push-up is a lot harder, but it's body weight. So body weight doesn't necessarily mean that it's easier. And one of the most important things to acknowledge is that strength is relative. So what is easy for me might be hard for you, or what is easy for you might be very, very difficult for me. So you need to find the rep range that suits you, but test and measure, see where your strengths and weaknesses are. For me personally, I do over 30 reps for each of those exercises to really work and finish off my glutes, really drain all that glycogen out of my ass. That doesn't sound very right. Sounds a bit gross, really. Not my ass. I mean, Shona, did you see what I did? I just did that. Oh my God, stop. I would say aim for 12 to 15 reps and beyond. If you can do more, great. If you can only do 5, then you know that you need to really work up. And if you're an absolute beginner, your strength adaptations will be much faster than someone who is intermediate or advanced. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If there is anything that I left out, let me know in the comments below and I will answer you. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz, because I always put slightly different content on each one. Cool. I'm gonna go stretch these babies out. Oh, I have no proprioception. Bye.